right, let me slide on out the way. Get to 5:30. Okay, good morning. It is now 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. As always, we are going to start the live with 3 cleansing breaths. The purpose of this is to create emotional regulation and also alert the rest of the brain that we are going to learn new things this morning. How this process works is I'm going to count you in descending order 3, 2, 1. You're going to inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm showing back up in frame. Hey. Good morning, Jared. Good morning. I am the amazing Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Good morning, Lola. Today, we are discussing Principle of Real Leadership number 54. It is Stop Working Wednesday and Start Achieving. So it's the 54th principle of real leadership, stop working and start achieving. It is day 689 for me going live consecutively. As always, you're going to need some liquid gold, baby, some agua, basa, H2O, water, because your brain is 75% water and it needs hydration, especially if you just woke up. You dehydrate yourself just by sleeping. Simple act. You have dehydrated yourself. So go ahead, before you ever consume anything else on any given day, go ahead and get your water. That is coming from Dr. Bain, a neurologist, off of TikTok. So have your caffeine, have your tea, have whatever, but have your water first. So the quote that's going to get this neuro party started today is this: don't be busy, be effective. Don't be busy, be effective. And this morning I have a question for you. Do you know what the difference is between working and achieving? Do you know what the difference is between working and achieving? And you're going to go ahead, if you're going to answer, you educated guess, go ahead and create an ellipse, a brain emoji, or a thinking emoji, a or something, so that I know that you will be attempting to answer this question or take an educated guess. What is the difference between working and achieving? Nola is thinking. Having a goal is what Lola said. Nola said working is negative, task based, as opposed to achieving is positive. It makes you feel accomplished. Okay, so let's find out. We're going to dig into it. Achieving is finishing. Good morning, Regina. We are talking about stop working and start achieving. And the question on the table this morning is, what is the difference? Oh, you were listening. Okay. The question that everybody has answered is the difference between working and achieving. Now, when I originally wrote this book way back in 2008, in the book, it says, if you think about, man, I got so much work to do. I got so much work to do. I got so much work to do. As Nola mentioned, it's going to be negative. Amy and Lala are going to tell you, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like that. But if you say, look at what I have to do today, look what I can accomplish today, look what I'm going to achieve at the end of the day, then you shift back to the prefrontal cortex, and now you can accomplish it. Today, I'm expanding upon that to give it even more of a definition that's a little bit more robust. So here's my definition of stop working, start achieving. Stop working and start achieving means shifting your brain from endless activity to intentional productivity. And that's what Jared and Lola said. You're accomplishing something. Nola said it too. So this endless activity of nothingness, you are shifting to productivity. Working is motion. Achieving is movement with meaning. Working is motion. Achievement is movement with meaning. That means you have a reason for what you're doing. If you think about a hamster just going in a circle and those little clear balls now just running around, just working their little tails off and not really accomplishing and that damn thing. So real leader disciplines their neurons to focus on results, not routines, outcomes, and not obstacles. Okay? So it's not a rut team, because a rut team means you're stuck in a rut and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. So you're not doing that. When you stop working and start achieving, your brain is no longer just busy. It becomes brilliantly effective. So you are no longer just being busy. I'm just going to work to get my job done. I'm just going through the motions and these relationships and everything else. That's busy work. But you are becoming brilliantly effective. You are brilliantly being effective because you are creating, you're going to the hippocampus bank of neurons, you're talking to the dentate gyrus, you're getting your daily withdrawal of neurons, you're actually strengthening neural pathways that are already there, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. Jared, you said that. So you feel differently. For those of you who have been around since January, if you go back to January 2025, when we started over here on January 19th, and you look at you today, where it is now September 24th, it's a totally different neurological you. You are neurologically more sound than you were way back in January. This potentially may have been the most productive neurological year of your life on purpose, by design, because you are achieving and not working. You have been working for a while. Even Nola has been in business for 4.5 years. Good morning, Envy. Nola has been in business for 4.5 years working, but she just did a closet yesterday, and she was like, when we went in here, so what happened was the couple bought a house, and the closet is an older closet that was, I felt like I was going in circles before. Wow, Jared, thank you for that. Yes, you were busy. busy. And so what happened was Nola was supposed to put together a child's outside jamboree thing for their daughter for her birthday. And they, at an appointment, she gets a notification. It was supposed to be on Friday. So on Sunday, they notify her, no, we need 2 closet units. She was like, 2 closet units? And they said Monday. It's like, I can't do 2 closet units on Monday. And plus I got an appointment. So found out what happened was they had this built-in closet unit from when they bought the house, and the drawers on the closet unit was falling out. So that's why they switched the appointment, so the husband and his friend could put that stuff together, because ain't no way in the hell he was going to be able to put them closet units together. So we get there on Monday. We do 1 closet unit Monday. We do the other closet unit yesterday. And Nola went yesterday because she has to look at her work as part of her Real Leader Resources. And she was like, and the husband was just like, thank you for coming on such short notice. He ends up being a realtor, asking her, what else do you do? Because I have the properties, yada, yada. The point is, no closet on Sunday. They clothes all over everywhere upstairs. Tuesday, everything is back in the closet. Well, most of it, because they still need a hanging rack. But it's there. And they can put their shoes. It's more organized. It's more up to date. And it's not as big, so they have more closet space. And so she was just thinking about, I got to just put 2 closet units together in that closet in less than 48 hours. That's not something that she could have did 4 years ago, and maybe not even 2 years ago. But because of the neurological pathways that have been she's built, it was 3 hours and 45 minutes on Monday and 3 hours and 15 minutes on Tuesday. And it wasn't because of her technical skills. The roof had damage, so there was water damage, and the walls weren't square. So Lola, you can appreciate non-square walls. So that was the problem. So we had to do these extra workarounds and move a little bit this there, and the unit fit when it was in there. But trying to get it to fit in there was the thing. And so because of Nola being able to achieve instead of work and having the skill set and having the hardware and understanding what was taking place with the walls and all of that, both of the units are in there now and the family has what they need. And now they can just focus on getting everything ready for the third birthday party or the second birthday party. So that's what was taking place. So if you think about where you were at the beginning of the year, where you are now, there is a neurological difference. You, as Nola keeps saying, my brain is clear, my brain is clear, my brain is clear, because every day, day in and day out, you've worked to create those neural pathways, prune all of the pathways that didn't bode well for you, getting rid of those bad habits in the basal ganglia, and now none of that is your reality. And you did that work. You did that invisible neurological work from stop working to start achieving. And now you have the fruits of your labor. You can enjoy them while they're still ripe. That's what you are able to do because you made the choice to invest in your own neurological development. That's what you did. And now you feel different. When you wake up every day, your existence is different. You don't have, like Jared said, you're just going in circles. And you feel like nothing, this is just as good as it gets. They had that movie with Jack Nicklaus and what's her name? I forgot. That this is as good as it gets. And now you're like, oh no, it could get better. Oh, wait a minute. It could get better than this. It could get better than this. It could get better than this because I have 86 billion neurons. And so now you know you can stop working. That shit is for the birds and the pigeons. Anyway, and now you can start achieving. You can start achieving. You don't need anybody else for you to start achieving. You can do that on your own. So here are some brain-based actions to move you from working to achieving. There are 3. Number 1, you can define your outcomes before actions. So instead of starting with a task list, start with an outcomes list. The cortisol production is slowing down. Yes, it is. Going to stop saying homework and call it extra learning or something. Yes, you can, Envy. Exactly. Stop saying it's homework because it's going to put you in a routine. And now you're just going to be like, oh, droning on, I'm doing homework. You can say it's brain strengthening activities. Or I'm sure one of us is going to think of something for it. You probably going to have it before the end of the life. But by priming the prefrontal cortex to visualize results, you shift from motion to meaningful movement. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. So, ask yourself, what do I want my brain to achieve today, this week, this month? So that's how you're going to prime your brain, by saying, what do I want my brain to achieve today, this week, this month, this year, this millennium, and the next decade? That's what you're asking yourself. And if you even say that out loud, what do I want my brain to achieve today? Your brain's like, oh, we achieving something? What? Oh, hold up. Wake up, y'all. We are achieving something. But if you say, shit, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. This is a lot of work. Oh, I got to do so much work. This takes work. This is just work. You don't want to do that. That's not something that you're looking forward to. But when you say, what do I want my brain to achieve today? What do I want my brain to achieve this week? What do I want my brain to achieve by the end of the month? But for the beginning of the quarter, for the fourth quarter of the year, what do I want my brain to achieve? Everybody is alert. They're like, what you need? The dentist job is like, hey, we got a special. We got a neuron special. Come on in. Let's sit down and talk about what you're going to need. Let's look at this right now. What are your goals? Okay, what do you want to achieve? Roger that. That's going to take 2,000 neurons. That's going to take about 15,000. That's going to take about 30,000. All right, cool. Good luck with that. That's what's going to take place. So you are focused on actions. What can I achieve? What are my brain and I going to achieve? Number 2, you're going to prioritize high impact tasks. So not all work drives achievement. Like I say, all money ain't good money. All work ain't good work. So use your brain's executive control network to filter what task moves the needle the most. Focusing on high-value actions prevents your neurons from wasting energy on busy work. It does that. So if you have a to-do list, you need to get to the top 3 things on that to-do list. And I think it's a 60-second strategy or something that says you need a not to-do list. What are the things you don't need to do? Because if you put that list there, then that's going to stop you from doing a whole bunch of stuff that's going to waste your time. No, she probably gets tired of me saying this. I'm saying, I'm not doing that. That's a waste of my time. I'm not doing that. That's a waste of my time. I'm not doing that. I can't learn from that. So for me, I look at everything as, am I going to learn something from this of what to do or not to do? And what am I going to extrapolate from this? Can I take this information and use it going forward? And if I can't, then whatever the damn thing is, it's not worth it to me. It is not worth it to me because now I can't get that time back. That's what I'm saying. I cannot get that time back that I just invested into that situation. And so you want to only do the things that are going to contribute to your brain, that are going to contribute to you achieving and accomplishing your goals. I don't need to take up skiing. I live in Las Vegas. That makes no sense. We don't have any snow. You can go to Mount Charleston. You might get a little bit of snow, but that's not something that I need to be doing. Well, you know what? You need a physical activity, so you need to do some downhill skiing. No, I don't. Not with these old ass bones from the army and joints and shit that's off. That's crazy. One fall, I'm done. Now, who's teaching people how to use the brain? That doesn't bode well for me. But for instance, there is a neuroscience conference that's taking place in 2026. Not going because I don't want to be bored out of my fucking mind, but that would make more sense as something that would be value added. And I don't like the cold. That's right, Envy. I don't like being cold. So why would I do that? And if it gets below 50 degrees, these two fingers going to get frostbite in it. Thank you, U.S. Army. So no, that's not something that I want to do. My brain is going to be full of cortisol with me trying to downhill ski. That's not going to work. I'll be in the lounge looking cute. Some nice little cute ski outfit, drinking some decaf coffee, waiting on everybody to come back. But no, I'm not going to be out there in the elements. Not at all. That's not something that I'm going to do. So you prioritize high value tasks that are actually a high impact tasks that are going to actually accompany you in achieving what it is that you want to achieve. And then number 3, you measure your progress, not the activity. Measure the progress, not the activity. So track evidence of achievement, milestones, results, changes that are created rather than time spent. So this feedback loop strengthens your brain's reward circuits, reinforcing achievement over routine effort. So Nola and I had this conversation the other day, and I told her, give me 1 second, because what happened? Okay. I told her that I don't really care about the amount of followers that I have. We were on our way to a second appointment, and she was saying, but most people don't have 10,000 followers. Because I said, and I was like, oh yeah, since I've been live on TikTok, I got like 300 more followers. Went from 12,400 to 12,700. And she was like, but why don't you value the followers? It's hard to get followers. And so I thought about that. And we sit in the car because the music is too loud in Canes. So we sitting in the car and I thought about it. And I said, I've been a leader my whole life. When you start being a leader at 14 years old, you're responsible for a team or a squad. And then you go, and I mean, literally like leadership positions, not your oldest sibling, so you got to take care of your family, not that, but actual leadership positions, team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant, first sergeant, those things, sitting on staff. So from 14 and a half years old until now, been in leadership positions my whole life, more than not. So I don't see that as something that, that's valuable to me in that regards. And she said people see their followers as fans. And I said, but that's not what they're called. They're called followers. So if they're following you, you have a responsibility to lead them. So it's more about you all actually engaging on Instagram and 30-day challenges and World Leader Resources. And at some point you'll be able to do the RL programs because that's the actual engagement part. So it's not hard for me to lead a group of people because I've been doing that my whole life. But it's this whole thing of switching to an educator for the thing that I created. That's where I'm measuring my progress. So I'm looking at the number of people that are subscribing, the number of people that are in challenges, because that's my evidence of achievement. I'm a good leader. People gonna follow me because I'm not gonna lead you astray. So I'll be sitting in the room and they're like, we need a leader. Okay, so we got Dr. Donna. Who else? I will get volunteered to lead a charge. Anytime, any initiative at Frito-Lay and Toastmasters, they called us champions because we had to switch from District 33 to District 111. I get a call, we need you to be on the champion team. So it's nothing for me to be a part of a leadership initiative. I'm always, oh, you want to be on our board or all that? That's nothing. But this new achievement of the thing that I created and developed, that's what I'm actually measuring. So yes, I need the 10,000 followers in order to monetize things, in order for you to be able to do that. Same thing on YouTube, I will get there, but that's not the thing that I'm hanging my hat on because people are going to follow me. The thing that matters most is each individual person taking the time to say, yep, I'm subscribing on Instagram. I'm going to do a 30-day challenge and all of this, because that's what's going to change the world. Following me is not going to change the world. I got videos, 1.2 million views, 700,000 views, 200,000 views. All okay, great. Thank you. How many people doing what I'm saying do? Because that's where the achievement is for me. That's what I'm measuring. Because people can look, like, and listen all day long, but are you going to apply it? Are you actually going to regulate your Amy and Lala? Are you actually going to get a cortisol-free brain that's going to be clear? I talked about fear and clear on TikTok Live this morning. So that's the part that's important, because I could be working to get more and more followers. That's working. Achieving is having adults literally say, I'm going to change my brain. I'm going to do what you're saying, and it's going to work for me. Thank you very much. That's an achievement. So 1,000 people in subscriptions is more valuable to me than 1 million followers, because those 1,000 people are actually going to go do more than the 1 million followers. Because the followers, in the term that they have used now, they're just going to follow me. They're going to wait. I'm going to post. They're going to like it. They're going to laugh. They're going to share it. They might do a sound thing to it, and then they're going to stop. And their Amy and Lala is going to go and do whatever. They're still going to have hijacked amygdalas. They're still going to have cortisol moments, and they're not going to have emotional regulation. So that's not an accomplishment. The accomplishment is 1,000 people literally waking up every day saying, I'm working on my bad mofo-ness. I'm fluent in bad mofo-ness. That's what I am. I know that this over here is emotional dysregulation, so I'm not going to participate in that. I'm going to go over here and do something extraordinary with my prefrontal cortex. Hold up, I got to go to the hippocampus bank of neurons, talk to the dentate gyrus, the clerk over there. She's pretty nice. She hooked me up every single day, and that's what I'm getting ready to do. And Nola watched Alexander, I forgot, The Making of a God. I think it's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you watch it. And what she noticed was he never had a bigger army than anybody. At no point was his army. Now, when he took over Persia, probably, but for the part that was the six episode series, there's some history narration in it, but it's very informative. So I watched it before I went on screen time. And that's what she noticed. She said, how he do all this and he didn't have the right amount of people. Because SEAL teams, Rangers, MPs go in and do big shit while big things do little shit. So it don't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. It takes the right people doing the right thing for the right reasons. So that's why for me, when I'm measuring progress or achievement, I'm measuring how many people are actively using what I'm saying. This works. Now let me see if it works. Okay, that works. Okay, let me bring some more in. That's the number that matters to me. So it's not that I'm not appreciative of the 14,000 people on Instagram, or the 12,000 people on TikTok, or the 3,000 here, the 4,000 on X. But they're just looking, liking, and listening. And so until people start executing this at the highest level, that's the number that I pay attention to every day. How many people are in the chat? What do they say in the chat? What content worked? Is this working? Is this engaging? Is this not engaging? Are you learning? That's why at the end of every live, I say, what did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself? And now I'm saying, what brain conversation did you have? Because if you don't go in self-reflective mode, that means you're not using your brain, your default mode network. And so I'm measuring if you're self-reflecting or not. That's what that question is measuring. And then I'm asking you, what did you learn? Because were you in your prefrontal cortex for this live based upon the information that I gave to you? Did you learn it? And then did you reflect about it? And then did you go have a brain conversation with somebody? Because that creates the reward loop. I learned something, I thought about it, I went and talked to somebody about it. That's why those questions are there, because I'm assessing, is this actually working? So ABAing, I'm always assessing, always achieving, always accomplishing. Those are 3 different A's, but that's the point. So for you to be able to stop working and start achieving, you need to define the outcomes before the actions. So you need to ask yourself the question, what do I want my brain to achieve today, this week, this month, this quarter, this year, the next 5 years? What do I want my brain to achieve? Next, you need to prioritize high impact tasks. So do the work that's actually going to lead you to the thing that you're working on and going to accomplish. And then you want to measure progress, not activity. Having a bunch of followers is activity. Measuring the amount of people who are actually in subscriptions, who are actually in challenges, and who are actually messaging me and saying, I know how to do this. The other day, Regina, Sean, and Nola had conversations about the book, The Tools, the E-Myth Revisited, And when they get to the art of war, they're going to have that conversation too. And Nola didn't know that I told Regina and Sean to read the book. And Regina didn't know that I told Sean to read the book. And so Regina's like, yeah, I read that book twice. And then Sean's like, it's a good book. Nola's like, I think my mom read that book and she's got some YouTube videos for it. And now they're having this conversation about this very effective book. Unbeknownst to each other, behind the scenes, I'm saying, you need to read it, you need to read it, you need to read it. And then they all come together and have this experience, this exchange of dopamine about this book that actually is effective for you, as well as the E-Myth Revisited, because Sean is reading that now. Nola and Regina have already read it. And Jared, you need to read the E-Myth Revisited too, because it's a very good business book. It's the best business book ever written, and I've read a lot of business books. I don't know Michael E. Gerber. I'm not going to get a dime from him if you buy the book, but that is the best business book by far ever written. I don't care if you've been in business, you think about being in business, or you've been in business for 30 years. That's the book that you actually need to read. And then you can start switching over to some Apple Steve Jobs books, because that will help as well. Okay, so what questions do you have about the definition of stop working, start achieving, or the 3 steps that you need to take? Define outcomes before actions, prioritize high impact tasks, and measure progress, not activity. Brain hit, high impact tasks, like the workout. Wow. Yes. So brain hit, high impact task. And that's what you're going to call it. You're saying that's what you're going to call your homework now. Envious thinking. And let me scroll out the way. So you have to stop working, start achieving, little 3 steps right there. And then the brain. So I'm ready to talk about that part right there. It's probably going to be too hot. Not bad. So I have tea on TikTok. TikTok tea. I just thought about that. It's always a great topic. Yes, I got some brain hit to do later. Yep, there you go. I told you were going to have it before the end of the live. Absolutely. Okay. So any questions, any thoughts, any revelations, any ahas from this process? And your daily question is in the chat for you on Instagram already. So if you haven't gone there, the daily is there for you this morning. I figured out scheduling wise, I need to do it before the live, because if I do it after the lives, it's going to be 6:30 for me, which would be 9:30 for the people on the East Coast. For the measuring of goals, would it be like how I don't measure the views? Like, so my music, I post, I measure my consistency and proudness. That is correct. So for me, all of my videos that went viral were part of my daily posting. At no point did I say, I'll make this video go viral. And all the videos that I thought should have gotten more views because I liked them didn't. Now one video that I liked ever gets more than 1,000 views. It might get 200. It might get 300. But I'm like, are you serious? 87? This is a good damn video. What's wrong with people? Every last video that I posted went viral and was part of one of many for that doggone day. And that's why I was like, aren't you excited? Because then you go viral and then all these people come, and I always go through the comments. So now I got to filter out comments. I got to decide if I'm clapping back, if I'm blocking you, and all of that. So it becomes this whole thing. And yes, at the top of my profiles, I do have my viral videos there because people need to understand that I do have viral material. So I can say I've gone viral. Got it? Moving on. It's just a check mark. It's like having a degree. Got it? Let's move on. It's not an indication of anything, but the video became extremely popular. It led to me being over 10,000 followers, and that's how that goes. I have a Elmo video on YouTube that's got over 1 million views. It's a Snapchat lens. Who would have ever thought my most viral video on YouTube is me using this Elmo song, just doing it, and next thing I know, I was like, what the heck? Years ago. And here comes Elmo blowing up on YouTube. So yes, that's what it would be like. And the reason why that's important is because you know why you're doing something. So when you do something that isn't value added for your brain, you need that validation. And so now well, I must be the shit because I got a video that's 1.2 million views. And so now all of the social media platforms will say you should be creating that type of content because that went viral. And I'm like, all of my viral videos were less than 15 seconds long. I got long format videos. So I'm not going to keep creating business one-on-ones. And you know what I stopped doing? I'm not going to do that so I can go viral, So now, because that's not, now I'm stuck with these two types of videos and I'm so much more than that. So that's not the measurement that I use. The measurement that I used before I switched to the posting format that I have now, before June 25th, is I was posting before that. Last year it was 100 something times a day. I reduced it to 80 something times a day and then got to 60. And now it's less than that because now I'm focused on, I got to say to the brain, I don't have time. I had to do the trade-off analysis. And it's like, I need to be preparing for these lives. I don't need to be creating content anymore because now I know that it's neurological. But you get to decide for yourself what you're achieving and what you're working on. Because I always get notifications because the amount of followers I have. Do you want our products? We can send you this free stuff. We can send you this. We can give you a sample. Do you want to collab with this person and all of these other things? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Or people still message me and tell me I don't have enough engagement and they can get my Instagram up, my TikTok up, my YouTube up without even asking me any questions. I'm like, did you see that I already have my channel for 12 years? Did you see any of that? Well, I noticed, and they'll pick the video with the least amount of views, send it to me, run some metrics on it, and then they'll tell me, I like your content. I watched all your videos. You watched 12,000 videos. And I'll ask them, how long did it take you to watch 12,000 videos? And how long did it take you to watch 10,000 videos? Well, not all of your videos, but some of your videos. Well, how many is some? Well, a couple. Well, you watched a couple from 2 playlists that I just started. So no. That's not how that works. And everybody assumes that everybody wants to go viral. Everybody wants to monetize. Everybody wants to be able to sell shit. And that's not what it's there for. So once you know what you're achieving and what you're working on, then other people can't come and try to convince you to do something that doesn't match what you are achieving. So no, I will not partner with somebody and do a podcast. Somebody I don't know. Be good. You can measure them and you all can get together. I partnered with somebody to do a business workshop back in 2015 and 16. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to do that anymore. And still acting like this. Right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you didn't watch it, but that's the pitch. And I educate them and say, here, let me give you a little sales information. To ask a person what are their objectives. Say, I came across one of your videos on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. I want to know what are your objectives for your page, for your account. Now, listen and then offer them, if you have something to offer them based upon their responses, tell them what your offerings are. But don't go doing this random assessment. And I can always tell when people have left the conference or something because I get inundated. Everybody that's saying, I'm like, y'all all went to the same conference. Okay, guys. Hey, just notice something. Thing. Great content. But I just want you to know, did you realize that if you maximize your SEO on your website page, no one can find you? And then I'll ask them, how'd you find me? Would you search to find me? Because apparently that worked. So there you go. How did you find, if my video can't be found, how did you find my video? Then they don't have anything to say for that. But I do give them a little nugget on the way and say, here you go. This is how we can help you with yours. I used to work with business owners, so this is a better sales pitch, okay? I pitched to one of the sharks off of Shark Tank. He called me Kevin Leary. What's his name? I can't think of his name. Nola will tell y'all what his name is. But yeah, he called me the business doctor. I think I told y'all that story. I was at a conference. So there you have it. So I pitched to a shark. So I know how pitching works. It was very effective, especially since I hadn't planned on doing it. And I had about 12 minutes to prepare. So that's that story. Kevin Harrington, I think is his name. I see his face. Can't remember his name because of perimenopause. So the point is that you are achieving and not working. And when you switch to achieving, you go into your prefrontal cortex and you are ready to be strategic. When you are working, you are on autopilot and nobody's sending you anything. It's like some work, whatevs, man. You don't learn anything, you don't grow, and you stay stuck. So you want to stop working and start achieving. So the brain region that you use the most to stop working and start achieving is the prefrontal cortex. And so the prefrontal cortex is the top brain region used to stop working and start achieving. In particular, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, it helps you shift from being busy with endless tasks to setting intentional goals. So just like we talked about having fun and being intentional, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is going to stop that busy going through the motions and is going to have you set intentional goals. And Jared just posted the other day, 2 days ago, his updated goals on his whiteboard that were SMART goals, and those were intentional goals. And now you have an intent, so you have a reason to accomplish it because it's SMART. You have a strategy that you're going to be able to get it done, and you can measure it. So that's what happens with that. And then the next is that you use the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. It aligns the goals with meanings and values, ensuring your actions produce achievement instead of activity. And so that's the thing. I'm live every day. I'm inside of the chats or the Instagram and all the broadcast channels and everything else. And so I'm looking at what was accomplished. Did the poll questions get answered? What did people say? What are they? Because then I use that information to say, okay, let me create a poll question based upon this. Let me go and make an audio based upon this. When was the last time I did an audio? Because people need to be able to listen, because listen is two of the principles of real leadership. So all of that is happening behind the scenes. But what you see is a question that appears possibly random when I'm an algorithm like Chat, OpenAI. I took all that information in, and here's this question. Here is this quote. I mean, I literally have a Facebook folder in my phone when you see those graphics with thousands of graphics in it. And so I'm picking based upon the day of the week, based upon what's happening in the world. And now you see this graphic. It appears to be random, but I took all that into consideration before you ever saw that content. So yes, so you're using the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. And together, the prefrontal cortex acts like the brain CEO, moving you from motion to meaningful movement. Moving you from motion to meaningful movement. So what you're doing, people saying, yeah, I'm making money moves, I'm moving. But is it meaningful movement, or are you just in motion? Are you just in motion and has no meaning whatsoever? Jazzercise. Come on, work. And 1, and 2, and 2. Or are you actually making movements that actually have meaning, that are going to matter past this moment that we're in? That was a lot of M's, a lot of alliteration. So what questions do you have about the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex or the ventromedial prefrontal cortex? Because that's what you're doing. You're shifting from busy to intentional, and you're shifting from motion to meaningful movements. That's how you go from working to achieving. Yes, you're using other brain regions, but that's the top brain region that is going to make it happen. And hence, that is the graphic right there. And if it's clear, let me know. No questions from Envy. Clear from Jared. Okay. All right. Last portion today before we get to the brain bit for today is, why did Dr. Donna develop the principle of real leadership, stop working and start achieving? Dr. Donna created this principle because she recognized that many leaders confuse busyness with effectiveness. So you're confusing busyness with effectiveness. So in modern culture, brains are constantly overloaded with tasks, meetings, and routines. But being busy does not always equal creating results. So Nola and I do work at offices. We were at an office yesterday doing some cabinets. Then in the afternoon, we were at someone's house with the closets. They work from home. And so it's meeting. We have a client who's always either traveling. Okay, she'll come talk to us now. I got a conference call at boom, 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 boom. I got to go run, take care of this and come back. Constantly busy all the doggone time. But busy doesn't always equal results. So here's the neuroscience insight. The brain craves completion, but it can get trapped in cycles of activity without meaning. That's what you said, Jared. I'm just going around in circles. I'm complete the circle. If you think about running 10 miles on a track, you're going to get them 10 miles done, but you're just running around in circles on the track. So Dr. Donna saw that real leadership requires rewiring the brain from just doing to strategically achieving. So it's not enough that you go to work every day and do your job and come home. You are not getting promoted. You are not going to learn anything, and your ass is going to be stuck in that job. And somebody said that on TikTok. Scared to leave, stuck in a job for decades. Now, you may come across many other people who worked in food and beverage, who worked at Frito-Lay, and they will not be able to tell you how Frito-Lay started. But as a manager, I had a 14-week onboarding process with 2 weeks in training before I actually became the person that was running the shift. And in that time, they give you this big ass 4-inch, 3-inch binder with all of the company, everything. In week 1, week 2, you got to go on an over the road drive. You got to go to the C-stores. You got to go in a bulk ride. You got to go spend time with the fryer operators and everybody and everything. And at the end of every week, you got to stand there. We used to use overheads because this was 2001. You got to sit in front of the leadership team and tell them what you learned. And I know that C.E. Doolin and Herman Lay came together. Lay was already doing potato chips. Doolin bought the masa hopper from somebody that was on their way back to Mexico and wanted to get home. He bought the recipe and the equipment for $150, and that's where Frito came from. They merged together in the 40s and made it Frito-Lay, and they have been Frito-Lay ever since. That's why the awards that you can win are the Herman Lay and the Doolin, because those were the founders of the company. Now, that was 2001. What year we in? We in 2025. So that was 24 years ago. Nola and I were having a conversation about supply chain. And because I worked in manufacturing, warehouse, traffic, and sales operations, I understand the whole supply chain. And the supply chain is the supply chain. Don't matter what company it is. Don't matter what you're building, widgets, digits, or whatever. Doesn't matter, because the supply chain is the supply chain. And there's a difference between a bulk driver, or over-the-road driver, and a box truck driver. And the certifications and the DOT paperwork and all of that, and the medical exams and all that, totally different. But because I ran a traffic center, sales ops, at one point I had 120 drivers with traffic center, 300 vehicles when I was managing Alabama. I know about all of that. But that's because I'm like, if I'm there, I'm going to know how all this shit works. I can tell you if the toast points is wrong on the Dorito. I can tell you if it was season accumulation and what was wrong in the manufacturing process when you have clumps of nacho in the bottom of the bag. I can tell you if your chips are stale, but the doggone cold date says that they should be good. Now it's because there's no nitrogen in the bag. I can tell you if you have too many of what you think are burnt chips, they turn the Opti sorter up, which is kicking out the chips with the high sugar in it. But if they got a wet breakdown and they needed those potatoes, then they're going to turn the Opti sorter up so they can get the volume out to get bags of chips to you. All of that is still the same. Manufacturing, if the end seal, the back seal, I can tell you what happened with the PMO operator. People can't do that. They can't tell you all of what's at their job, let alone what's happening at the whole doggone plant. And that's why achieving is better. Achieving is better. If I'm going to learn something, I'm going to be strategically achieving it so I can take that information with me. When we set up a workspace, that's because I was in the military and we had to leave all the training facilities exactly like they were when we came. That's why when I go, yes, congratulations, Jared. And how many of your postal people know that? You'll be like, they'll be like, no, I don't know that. I only sort the mail. You know, you're going to have to ask the people at the front desk for that. Because they are just working and you are achieving. And that's the difference. And that's why you can take all those skills and go use them. Some very few. Exactly. They know their job somewhat. Some people really good at their job. And then some people just like, yeah, I ain't doing that shit. I'm doing enough to not get fired. Teachers, I'm going to teach enough to keep my job, but I ain't trying to be the principal or administrator or nothing else. I'm just here to keep these bad kids in line so I can get the retirement. And that's the difference between just doing it and being strategic and achieving it. So that's the neuroscience behind that. And that's how you know you're getting a total brain workout. I'm like, if I got to be at this job 10 to 12 damn hours, I'm going to know everything there is. No, and then leadership insights. So real leaders are not measured by how hard they work, but by the meaningful outcomes they produce. By teaching leaders to focus their prefrontal cortex on intentional goals, Dr. Donna shows how to transform effort into accomplishment. Even I was still teaching at the job. I did one-on-ones with my employees every 4 weeks because Frito-Lay operated in 13-week periods. And I'm sitting down having these conversations. When I had NCOs and I had to do NCOERs with them, what do you want to accomplish this year? What's happening? What jobs do you need? Are you doing continuing ed courses and all of that? So that when I leave, you are better off. When I leave, you are better off, because that's the responsibility of a leader, which is why followers, I'm like, I can do this, but I got to switch to education, and now I need to teach people how to use their brain. So that's different than sitting down. Plus, you already got procedures, policies, and procedures in place to be able to be a good leader. This thing right here doesn't exist. That's why it's more valuable to me when it starts working. And then personal accountability insight. This principle reinforces personal accountability. Leaders must discipline themselves to track results, not routines, and model achievement-driven thinking for themselves and others. So in short, Dr. Donna developed this principle to free leaders from the trap of endless work and elevate them into purposeful achievers, making them more effective, more efficient, and more empowering. So that's what this is for. You stop working and start achieving, and then everybody else around you stops working and starts achieving too, because we are thermostats and we are not thermometers. And so that is the objective. And Envy just did it with HIT. Now every time you have to do homework, you're not even gonna be like, oh, I gotta do homework. Okay, let me get myself together. Let me listen to some music. Let me grab some caffeine. You're just gonna say it's time for me to hit. I got it. I'm getting ready to do that. Okay, next. What questions do you have, or any comments about Stop Working, Start Achieving, before we get into the brain bit, which today is breaking bad habits? We're breaking bad today. And let me slide out the way so you can see my beautiful graphic. Look at that. Breaking bad. We're on our way. Beautiful. Sound like my instructor. Got beautiful. Look at that color in that dendrite. It's just a beautiful color. Just look at the imagery. Oh. Look through the microscope, you can see it. Is this thing on? No questions. Okay. No questions. All right. I have a question for you. Got 12 playlists. 7? I think it's 12 or 7 playlists for question for you. One of them, because poll questions is 13. Or one of them. They're switched. Okay. So what is something that you are working at? Working at. Not achieving, but working. And remember, ellipse, if you're thinking, brain, thinking emoji. What is something that you're working on? Expanding real leadership. Okay. Now, if you say what we're achieving, then that changes the game. So I'm working on 5.9 billion adults with their hijacked amygdalas and emotional dysregulation, which puts me at 12 billion amygdalas. If I'm saying I'm working on getting 12 billion amygdalas to have emotional regulation, how empowered am I going to be to get that done? But if I say my objective is to work with adults, one brain at a time, to create emotional dysregulation. The work part, because that feels like a lot of work. That feels like I'm like, how am I going to do this? It's so much work. So as soon as I say that, I'm deflating myself, and that's not something that I want to do. I don't feel empowered. I'm like, oh my God, somebody, what the fuck did they do now? This is so hard. Why is this so much work? But if I just go and look in the chat and somebody's answered the question, like PepsiCo bought Paper Mills, what's the name? The pancake company. I know why they did it. They needed some keep delivering them double-digit profits to Wall Street. But who knew? And we didn't know that. So we got new information. So if I stay focused on the thing that is actually being achieved, then that makes this simpler. But if I look at the work ahead of me, and Regina says, close the gap. If I look at how big the gap is, that's not going to make me want to do it. And so I focus on the achievements. What can I achieve today? I can't get to 5.9 billion people today, but I can get to people in the lives. I can post to thousands of people today, and thousands of people will see it. And a little flash, maybe a little fire and wire will take place and plant a neural seed that will come back, hopefully, and fire and wire and connect. So that's what's happening. So getting out of my comfort zone, if you say getting out of my comfort zone, that feels like work. If you say expanding real leadership, that feels like work too. But what can you do today? What can I achieve today for the ultimate goal that we have of having 5.9 billion adults using the principles of real leadership and having emotional regulation so that the world can be a better place? So when you focus on those daily accomplishments, those dailies turn into weeklies, which turn into monthlies and turn into quarterlies and annualies. And the next thing you know, you have 5.9 billion adults actually using their brain. So that's what you have to do. Because if you say I'm working on it, it's going to feel like a lot. But if you say, what can I achieve today? What can I achieve by Saturday? Because that's the end of the week. Now the brain is going to focus on that achievement. And now you're going to create that reward loop. And then you look up. So when I set up my YouTube channel, I did not think that 12 years later, I was going to have 12,000 videos. When I had 8 playlists, I posted. I was like, I got 400 videos and 8 playlists. And I'm like, oh, look at that. That was so cute. Look at you with your 8 playlists. And now there are 133 playlists and there are 12,000 videos. But it was day by day, by day, by day, by day, and turned into year by year, by year, by year. And we're over a decade in with that process. So the objective is to say I am achieving. So Jared, you can say, I am taking risk every day. Because taking risk every day is going to get you out of your comfort zone. But if you just say, I got to get out of my comfort zone, Amy and Lala going to say, hold up, wait, what you said you was doing? What you said you was remodeling the comfort zone? What, you getting rid of it? No. Catastrophe shows up, and now you are sitting back in your comfort zone listening to Law and Order SVU and some doggone Kirk Franklin. That's with me. Yesterday, I try not to be in the same predicament, positions, or the same mindset the following year. Each day I look back to see my growth. Yes, ma'am. And so that is what is taking place. I ran a test yesterday. I spent 4 minutes on TikTok. Changed my whole perspective. Nola said, you got that TikTok residue on you. You about to change everything that we said we was about to do. How did you get unfocused on the plans that we already made? And I said, see, can't watch it. It was a test. Just like when I had no sugar, went back to 7-Eleven, got them donuts, and they was nasty, and I threw them away. I was like, this is the problem. This is actually the problem. That's what I'm working on. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understood that. To see your growth. So for you, Lola, it's achieving. I am achieving these things. I am making sure here are the things that I am achieving every day. I'm looking back to make sure my mindset is growing. But if you say I'm working on it, the brain processes the word. So its word choice matters. So what am I going to achieve today? These are things that you are achieving, not working on. So the working on question was to let you feel that when you say working, it feels harder to do. But when you say achieving, now the brain's like, yeah, I could do that. Okay, what are we achieving? Are we achieving something? Because it's measurable. Because work, everybody says, I got to go to work. I got to work. Last day of work, this is my Thursday. This is my Friday. And so it feels negative. But when you say achieving, because as Jared mentioned, very few people know how everything at the post office work. When I was at Frito-Lay, same thing. People just like, I got to work. Where you work at? What you do at work? What's your job? What's that? And so it's this very stuck thing, work. But that's why Envy said, I don't like homework. I'm going to switch it to something else because now the brain wants to do that and it will empower you to want to get that done. Yes, ma'am. That's what's happening. So now you see the difference. So stop saying work and start saying achieve. And you will get the neurons that you need to make that happen. Okay, today's brain bit is how many brain regions it takes to break a bad habit. So for the question on the table is, how many brain regions do you believe that it takes to break a bad habit? Educated guess. You breaking a bad habit in the basal ganglia is where the habits reside, but it's a whole brain experience. How many brain regions do you believe that it takes to break a bad habit? Achievement is positive, work is negative. Yes. Envy says 6. How many brain regions does it take to break a bad habit? Jared said 8. 35. No. Nola says 7. The answer is, ladies and gentlemen, 5. The hell? It takes more brain regions to blink than to break a bad habit. 10 brain regions to blink, 5 brain regions to break a bad habit. It is 5. 5. 5. Breaking a bad habit isn't just willpower. It's a full brain workout with 5 brain regions. The prefrontal cortex, the decision maker that sets goals and resists impulses. Number 2 is the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex. It's the conflict monitor that notices when you're about to slip. Remember, that's Miss Brenda Jones. What you doing, baby? That don't make no sense. You're not getting up in here to this prefrontal cortex. What you say? No, you can't get in here. No, absolutely not. So that is Miss Brenda saying, no, ain't gonna happen. Basal ganglia, that's the habit hub. That's where it's just sitting. We go to Whole Foods, and there's nothing but Tesla chargers over there. Everybody just sitting in Starbucks or at Whole Foods while they're charging their vehicles. So that's just the habit hub. And where old routines live and where new ones must be rewired. Number 4, amygdala, the amygdala, the emotional alarm that signals stress or cravings. That word, cravings. Yesterday, I got off TikTok and I had some cravings. I was like, oh, I could watch one show. Oh, I could listen to one song. No, I can't. No, I cannot. No, I cannot. Because it's going to throw me off my square. Give me 1 second. Cravings. Like that word. I'm going to use that. That's why I wrote it down. So now you got your cravings for your habit. Stress and cravings. Stress and cravings. That's how you end up doing your bad habit. And then number 5 is the hippocampus, which is the memory bank. And that helps you remember strategies and track your progress for your bad habits. So the takeaway is, to break a bad habit, you need a whole brain team for logic, memory, emotions, and habit circuits all pulling together. So if you're going to break that bad habit, you need the prefrontal cortex, the ACC, the basal ganglia, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. Right. So now, when you find yourself entertaining and giving Amy and Lala what they want, it is because of stress or cravings. I had people on the live today. One person is an old student. Envy, you may remember Tara from back before, or she might have been gone before you showed up last year. Showed up because Tara needs to lose weight. She's back. We're trying to be back. And then we have Miss Peaches on there, who is addicted to cornstarch, chewing on it and spitting it out. And then we had that the dentate gyrus was involved. Well, the hippocampus is involved, so the dentate gyrus is actually in the hippocampus. And that's how you have to start the new strategy. So it's located inside of it. So technically it is. And then we had, and I can't think of her username, but she was addicted to buying cheap gadgets online. So that was her thing. I'm stressed, I'm gonna go buy some cheap gadgets online. I said, you, all 3 of y'all go to Instagram. Because yeah. So now you know that the habit can't be broken if you are stressed or cravings. So now you can identify it even more. You're researching what is causing Amy and Lala to show up and create emotional dysregulation, stress eating, or cravings. We have Quita on here, who's addicted to carbs. I'm craving carbs. There you have it. And I would venture to say, and this is a hypothesis, but that the cravings are coming from Amy, and the stress is coming from Lala. Lala gonna tell you, ooh, you stressed out. Go ahead and watch Law and Order SVU. Go ahead and listen to some gospel music. Ooh, I am craving sugar and caffeine. That's what's happening. So if you want to break a bad habit, you are going to need your prefrontal cortex, your anterior cingulate cortex, your basal ganglia, your amygdala, and your hippocampus. And that's what you have to do. And you have to replace it. Because if you just say, I'm going to stop it, and you don't replace it with something else, and plus you need to know why it's a bad habit. That's step one. Why are you engaging in this bad habit? How did you get to this bad habit? Most of the people when I was in the Army smoked because you could take a smoke break, but you couldn't take a regular break. So if you smoke, they gave you a smoke. They say, smoke them if you got them. And then everybody be standing over there on their white engineer tape smoking because everybody else would have to clean, do something else because you didn't smoke. So people started smoking just so they could get a break. Yikes, right? Horrible reason to start smoking, but there you have it. Drinking coffee so you can stay awake. So now you drink coffee and you smoke cigarettes. You get out of the military, you're like, damn, I got to smoke cigarettes and I'm drinking coffee. This is terrible. That's how it starts. So you want to find out where that bad habit originated at so you can prune that neural pathway. You can deny it access and then develop a different, healthier habit. Both habits, it takes 8 days to create that neural pathway, 21 days for it to become a habit, good or bad. 30 days is cemented in. So now you know. If you are removing a bad habit and replacing it with a good bad habit or just starting a good habit, you 21 days out from it. And you got to do it every day in order for it to create that neural pathway and keep it. And if you stop doing it, then the firing wire is going to stop, the neural pathway is going to get pruned, and you won't have access to that habit. So that's for good and bad habits. What questions do you have about bad habits? And it's interesting. You think these things that are nothing take less brain regions and these things that are something take more, but it really is, it depends on what it is and how many brain regions you will need to do it. So now you can break a bad habit faster or better than you can blink. Not really, but you get my point. You use more brain regions to make up your bed daily. And then for everybody else, what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what brain conversation did you have? What did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what brain conversation did you have? If you are thinking, ellipse, brain, graphic, or a thinking emoji, or wake me up on other stuff. I got to stop working and start achieving by measuring my progress. And that will help too from this comparison. Because of the internet, everybody can see everybody else. So everybody is comparing each other to everybody else. And that's making it external anxiety. And now you feel less than. We come across people in their early 20s thinking they're supposed to have their stuff together. I'm like, you don't even have your frontal lobe. How you going to have everything together? You're 23. You're not supposed to even have it together. You got to wait till you're 25 to get your whole complete brain. So now it's like they have this, they're already doing this at their job and all these other things. And it's like, but do you even want to do that? And Nola has had to correct me about that in the past. She's like, but in order for them to have that, they got to do that. You're not willing to do that. That's why you're not going to have that. That's correct. You are correct. Envy said, when a habit is broken and the craving still persists, it's because it wasn't replaced with a good habit, or was the habit never truly broken. The habit was never truly broken. And the example that I'm going to give to you, Envy, is in AA, they call it a dry drunk. And so a dry drunk just doesn't drink, but they're still angry. They're still mad and everything. So they want to drink, but they don't drink. So they're a very miserable person to be around. They're just not drinking, but they're not healing either. They're not going through the 12 steps or anything. They're just sober. but they're not actually working the program. So it's not working because they're not working it. So it's not going to be worth it for them. So that's what's happening, is that it's not truly broken. You're just not currently doing it, but you haven't said, I'm never doing it again either. So that is correct. It's kind of like in a hybrid phase. It's then dormant. So let enough stress come upon you and you're going to go back to it. But I stopped drinking caffeine in March of 2023, stopped eating inordinate amounts of added sugar, and haven't gone back to it. In fact, I'm even less caffeinated and less added sugar-nated. I need to change how I speak my thoughts differently to achieve my goals. Yes, ma'am. Word choice matters. It actually does matter. 1000%. The words you choose are going to show up in your life. That's how that takes place. So one thing I will say, having had my 4 minutes on TikTok yesterday, Nolan said, I learned about myself that I made behavior changes to get rid of bad habits. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you did. And here's what I will say about bad habits, or about the stress that comes with Amy and Lala and the neurotoxicity that it brings. When I left Frito-Lay on June 25th, 2010, I was working 10 to 12 hours a day, having to drop Nola off. I had work after. I had two phones. Anyway, I see. It's like the habit is just paused, waiting to be resumed. Yes, it is. It's just waiting because you actually didn't. And that's why I'm saying you have to assess why you have the habit. And I use the example in the Army. People smoke because people that smoked got breaks, more breaks than the people that didn't. So that's what happened. You need to stay awake. So the only thing that was, they didn't have tea available. So you had coffee, water and coffee, and that nasty ass Kool-Aid. So people would drink coffee to stay awake, and then they would take cigarette breaks because people who smoke got breaks. It was rewarded at that time. So now they have these two habits from the military, and now they can't get rid of them. You spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the military, smoke breaks and coffee, it's going to be a minute before you get rid of those habits. So you just say, I'm going to stop it. But if you don't know what started it, then are you really stopping it? So you got to do the root cause analysis to understand. I came from a family of TV watcher or music listening people, and I grew up in their family. There's always a TV on. There's always some music on. It's always rare. It's probably quiet in our house for about 3 hours. And then the rest of the time, it was 24 hours. 24 hours. Then people started sleeping with TV on, and that was it. It was never quiet. And so that just became my thing. And Nola brought to my attention, she was like, you don't even really like TV. Every time something is on, you figure out who did it, and then you're on your phone, or you're fast forwarding through to see if you were right. So you're watching it wrong. And now you're taking a lesson from the episode. And you're like, I was watching Law and Order, and I'm going to take this from it. So she told me I wasn't even doing it right. I actually speak in song lyrics. So I'm just taking the words. I'm listening to it, but then I'm using it inside of what I do. So I wasn't even doing it correctly. So now I can stop it. But yeah, now I understand where it came from, and I'm like, I don't really need it. So to that point, yesterday we were driving home from the second appointment, and she was suggesting things to me. I was like, okay, so no screen time, nothing. And she was like, well, you used to color, you should color again. And I was like, yeah, but I already colored. And I think when you're self-actualized, that's not what's happening. I need to replace these things. So we played some Connect 4 yesterday. We had a very intense game. We almost thought we were going to be at a standstill. And then I pulled out a win at the end. But it was an interesting concept. So we're playing cards. We're playing Connect 4. She's going to give me a piece of one of her coloring books, and I'm going to color to see if I still want to, or has that passed for me. But just like when I left Frito-Lay, and y'all can still say what brain conversations that you had and finish that out. Just like when I left Frito-Lay, I thought I needed to fill my day with 10 to 12 hours worth of things to do. And it was hard for me because I was like, I've been busy for 10 years, really 15 if you count the Army. And now I'm just in limbo, which is today's brain, really the brain in PA. And what I found is that neurologically, I was used to that level of intensity of problem solving and all of that, but it wasn't healthy for me. It was not neurologically healthy for me. And so what I'm paying attention to now is the same thing is happening now. So I've removed screen time, I've removed music, I've removed people. And so there is this, it feels like, well, what you going to fill that space with? Nothing. You said, what, Doc? Nothing. I'm not going to fill it. So our house, we've been living in the same house for almost 15 years. When we got here, it was shit on the wall, mirrors and clocks and all kind of stuff and pictures and everything. And at one point I had entertainment centers with tables, end tables and coffee tables and stuff everywhere, just fish tanks. And it was just shit everywhere. It was organized, but it was too much. Rugs and the towels on the stove and pot holders and all these things. And slowly but surely, as I became more of who I am, I started releasing that. And so there's just white space. There's no pictures of us in the house up anymore. We know what we look like. We got the pictures on our phone or in photo albums. And so that space is just there. Because what I realized is Amy and Lala like chaos and confusion. Amy and Lala want it right now. They need to have it. But there is something about just peace. There's something about just learning and growing and default mode network time. Having that space to think, to process, to explore, to just sit and just be at one with yourself. Because Nola even looked up, what do the Tibetan monks do? She was like, well, you're listening to the music. What are some of the things that they do? I play instruments and art and all of those things. And I'm like, okay, I understand that too. But I can just sit. I can just sit and do nothing and be with myself. And that's okay for a time. Don't be lazy. But Amy and Lala got me convinced that every minute and every hour of the day, I need to be doing something. And that's neurological toxicity too. Because if I'm trying to solve the problems of the world, which I made that decision yesterday as well, and I'll see your response in Envy and Nola, I'm about to get to it. Why am I trying to solve problems that hijacked amygdala people created? I asked myself that yesterday. Your hijacked amygdala caused those problems, whatever they are. And unless they directly impact me, why am I saying, see what they need to do? Because that's what I was doing in my downtime as well. See what they need to do. And all they had to do is, and why didn't they? They didn't because they weren't in their prefrontal cortex, and that's why it doesn't make sense. What also doesn't make sense is me trying to solve a problem that somebody solved in a hijacked amygdala state. That's what also doesn't make sense. So if the lives feel different, they're supposed to feel different now. They need to feel different because I remove neurotoxicity. And in order for us to grow and develop, we need to know what neurotoxicity felt like and what it doesn't feel like. And that's what I did on TikTok Live. I gave them the definition of fear and I gave them the definition of clear. And so what's wrong with clear? Clear, eliminate the clutter from your life. Our house is clear. You can walk around, sit on everything, grab a dish, grab a whatever, have a seat. You're not moving anything. So when did clear become a problem? Why is it? What's wrong with clear? What's wrong with intentional fun? What's wrong with having a clear event and moving forward? Because we have been programmed that you need a little bit of in. You need a little bit of, a little danger. Why? Cortisol causes the brain fog. Cortisol causes brain fog. So I'm telling myself that I need a little bit of brain fog? For what? Why? Why can't I just be clear? Why can't, if I'm a thermostat, you keep the thermostat on 80, you keep the thermostat on 60, whatever. When it gets hot, gets cold, the thermostat does what it needs to do and it comes back down. That's it. But this acceptance of a little bit of brain fog, a little bit of, you get, why? Why do I gotta? If people haven't regulated their emotions, if people have Amy and Lala popping off and they haven't assessed what they need to do, why am I responsible for their bad twins? I'm not. I'm not responsible for your emotional regulation. What I'm responsible for is to teach you how to process your emotional regulation, and then you become emotionally regulated. And then you're calm, and then you're cool. And then we all have our prefrontal cortexes and we can go do extraordinary things. That's what can happen. So Envy said, I learned it only takes 5 brain regions to break or more to make a habit, break or make a habit, and over twice as much to blink. I learned that about myself. If I can just rename the thing like brain hits to make a more positive experience. And you can, as long as you are operating your prefrontal cortex. Noah said, I learned that achieving makes you feel accomplished, and it only takes 5 brain regions to remove a bad habit. Nola, we talked about me doing different things for emotional regulation. That is correct. And then Envy said, brain combo was with my mom. We got into a disagreement over miscommunication. And I said, I need a break because my amygdala is having that conversation. And I will come back when I am the one speaking. That is awesome, Envy. Jared, show, I can only control my response to someone. Yes, with the hijacked amygdala. Jared, I don't know why they shared. I think because you said hijacked. Anyway, go ahead, Lola. Have a great day. If you're already gone, I apologize. I didn't see that. Okay. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, this is what emotional regulation feels like. This is what it feels like, and this is what it can feel like for you. And I'm coming to understand that this is acceptable behavior. It's okay to not have a hijacked amygdala. It's perfectly okay to have emotional regulation and not be dysregulated. It's okay to say, just like Envy said, my amygdala is having this conversation. I'm going to be back when I can have this prefrontal conversation. That's when I, in my prefrontal cortex, can have this conversation. And what we have been made to do is to tolerate some level of emotional dysregulation. And I'm saying no. Envy understood what was taking place. When the other day, when I had last week, I had my perimenopausal moment. Nola was on her bed and she said, okay, good night. And I woke up the next morning, apologized, and realized what was taking place. That's what the 74 principles of real leadership are for. Handle conflict when it occurs. Listen, if you don't know, ask. But this whole, my answer is no. I told Nola when I went to sleep last night, I said, when I wake up this morning, I'm done with all of that. I'm done. I'm finished with it. I'm not trying to solve it. And now I would say we didn't cause it, we can't cure it, and we didn't create it. So why am I trying to solve something that can't be solved by other people? I can't solve you having emotional dysregulation. If you choose to act in stress and craving manners and allow your amygdala to take over your prefrontal cortex and have brain fog, you can't hear me. No matter how loud I say it, you won't be able to process what I'm saying. And so I'm saying today and going forward, I'm not wasting my brain capacity on that. Not happening. If you want to learn how your brain functions, we're going to be over here cool as the other side of the pillow, woosah. Do I crack jokes? Do we have a good time? Absolutely. But this tolerance for neurotoxicity, this tolerance for hijacked amygdalas that I'm supposed to wait for you to just work your stuff out. No, work your stuff out. Don't come over here unworked out. That's not, this ain't a rehab center. That's not what this is. You got to come saying, and that's what I told Nola, and then I can end. And if you have to go ahead. Nola was having a moment yesterday at an office, putting together this thing. And she was saying, this chair is in the way. And I let her have that moment. Because normally, if her Amy starts acting up because of the autism or whatever, I'm like, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I said, this is her thing. And when she got it together, finished the thing, got in the car, I said, you do realize that Amy was popping off, Amy and Lala. And I told her all of the different ways that she could have handled that situation, and she didn't. And I asked her why. Because those are your two fraternal twins. So I'm not responsible for your twins having their moment. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to let you have your moment, and after it's over, we can discuss why you let that brain hack happen, why you let that cortisol. Why did you? I asked. I said, how they get past Miss Jones? How they get past her? Was she at the bathroom? What happened? How they get all the way there? And I said, here is the thing. And so, what is the solution, Dr. Donna? 10 significant seconds of silence. That's why Envy left. Mom, I'll be back. Because in 10 significant seconds of silence, you are counting 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, until you get to 10. And that's enough for that cortisol to go, uh-oh. Miss Brenda back at her desk. And now you are back in your prefrontal cortex, and now you are back in charge of your brain. That's not my responsibility. I don't know what your Amy and Lala have stress and cravings for. I have no idea. Your responsibility to find out. Because if you use my method, you say, well, I just don't watch, I don't watch crime shows no more, and I don't listen to gospel music. And your Amy likes cornstarch. Your Amy likes gossip news. You still gonna have amygdala dysregulation. You still gonna have cortisol going to the prefrontal cortex. That's why I realized it's customizable. It is customizable because it is your own thoughts inside of your brain based upon your life and your experience. And unless you determine what Amy and Lala are stressing you out about and craving and are afraid of, you are never going to access your best. You are not, because you are going to have brain fog. It's never going to happen. And then you can go to 1,000 workshops, you can be in therapy for 100 years. None of it is going to take place until you do the work. And that's why the person that came from last year asking about RO365, I said, no, you got to start over. MB has had to start over. You got to start at prefrontal cortex, amygdala training, basic training over there on Instagram, because you're going to fail at one of these challenges unless you know what is stress, cravings, and your doggone external anxieties that would make you have emotional dysregulation, shutting off access to your prefrontal cortex, making it so you can't accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. So yes, it feels different over here for a reason. It's on purpose, because now I understand that everybody has a responsibility to themselves neurologically to create their own emotional regulation. As a leader, I thought that was on me. I thought, because I've had soldiers, you got to remember, so I was 14 years old, I would take care of people. Hey, this is how you do it. You need this here, bam, boom. But I got to carry only what I need. That's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So I'm over here carrying your Amy and Lala and my Amy and Lala, and I'm taking that on. It's creating neurotoxicity for me, while you are not taking care of your Amy and Lala. So yes, I let my child at an appointment at a doggone accounting office have that moment. And we discussed it later. Because first of all, I was conducting an experiment to see if I was right, and I was. And now I know, as a leader, not my responsibility. As an educator, my only responsibility to you is to tell you, here is how you can resolve that. It's your responsibility to resolve it. And so I'm releasing myself from having to be responsible for other people's emotional dysregulation. Not my issue. And if you want to be a bad mofo, I have to regulate my Amy and Lala, and so do you. If you don't, you're not going to be a bad mofo, and you're going to have emotional dysregulation, and you're going to have it somewhere else. Not over here. I don't have to tolerate it. I don't. And I'm not going to, because it's not helping you, and it's not helping me, and it's not helping anybody else over here. So that's that. So tomorrow we will be back. It is Thinking Thursday, and I have a topic, and I forgot what it was. Nola's going to have to remind me because I didn't write it down. But it is Thinking Thursday. We will be doing Thinking Thursday. The question for today is in the chat. So go ahead and go over there and do your question for today. And the other part is, remember, go have a conversation with someone else. Get the information, have that conversation, and come back and say, I had the conversation with such and such, had a conversation with my daughter, had a conversation with a coworker, had a conversation with a stranger in the grocery store. Have that conversation, because that is how the reward loop is actually completed. So you look it up, have the conversation with someone, come back over here, or go back to Instagram, have the conversation with us, and now you're going to have a different neurological experience. Okay? So thank you for your time today. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, higher power in the universe. Same time, explaining parts of the brain. That's what it is. Thank you. Let me write that down, Nola. Okay. There we have it. So I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Adios.